This Richmond officer, 28-year-old Seara Burton, is fighting for her life tonight in a Dayton hospital after being shot earlier tonight during a traffic stop here in Richmond. We're on the scene of where that traffic stop happened about 6:30 tonight at 12th and C Street. You can see state police, Indiana State Police, are on scene. They are taking over this investigation, and it's likely going to be a long night for them. Here's what they say happened. Officer Burton, they say around 6:30, pulled over a suspect here at 12th and C Street. They say that suspect opened fire at Officer Burton several times, and assisting officers fired back at that suspect. They say the suspect then took off running, and officers chased that suspect. We know that they were able to take him into custody. Indiana State Police say that suspect was also shot. We do not know his condition, but we do know from Richmond Police Chief Michael Britt that Officer Burton and the suspect are at the same hospital. Now, this has been a very emotional night here for this community. Officer Burton is a 4-year veteran, and Officer Chief Michael Britt tells us that she was recently promoted to being a canine handler. Chief Britt says other officers are going through emotional pain tonight, and that most of the department, in fact all of the department, came in to assist when they heard that Officer Burton had been shot. Here's what the chief and the mayor told us about an hour and a half ago.
A lot of facts are yet to be determined. The thing that we do know for certain is my officer is in very critical condition, fighting for her life. Those of you who pray, I ask that you pray for her, as she could use it. The police department is obviously devastated. She's a fine officer, and we have a family environment here. We hope the best.
This is a heavy evening in our community. Officer Burton has been a tremendous officer. She has supported this community. She's worked hard for this community, and tonight we need to return that to her. Tonight she needs our prayers. Our department needs our prayers, and I'm thankful that our officers were able to apprehend the assailant.
No, we know that this investigation is ongoing. Chief Britt, again, asking for prayers tonight for Officer Burton. He tells us that she is engaged to be married, and that wedding was set for next weekend. Instead, she is in the hospital at this hour fighting for her life. You know, this is a community that comes together in tough times, and gestures like this out in front of the Richmond Police Department are part of that. This is a prayer board, and people have been coming here all day and tying on white and blue and black ribbons in honor of Officer Burton. The sign asks prayers for Seara, and of course Richmond's police chief is asking for continued prayers for Officer Burton, who he says is still in extremely critical condition. She underwent surgery. He says she showed slight responsiveness, but has still not regain consciousness. In an Indiana community where people's roots run deep and neighbors look out for one another. An example of how difficult times can unite people even more, as they've done in Richmond, where a community is united behind its police department and Officer Seara Burton, still fighting for her life after being shot Wednesday during a traffic stop. These blue ribbons outside the police department, part of that outpouring of support. Residents have stopped at the department to pick up signs, hundreds of them, to put in their yards. They show a smiling Officer Burton standing next to her partner, Canine Officer Brev. Brev was with Officer Burton during Wednesday's traffic stop when she was shot.
I can't even say what Brev is feeling. Open up his eyes and not.
He knows something's bad.
Yes, something happened.
He knows it.
Can't see her. She's not there at that moment. He's confused. He has to be confused.
Luis Rodriguez is the head trainer at Von Lick Kennels. That's where this past spring, Officer Burton picked Brev to be her partner and trained with him for 6 weeks.
I tell the students in the classes that you guys had better work hard because this girl's going to out-do you. And that's what happened. She was amazing.
From the first week, she took over and did everything that she needed to do, and that bond was immediate. That dog did everything that she asked her to do.
We brought a gift bag box for the dog, Brev, and I think that's how you pronounce it. And we wrote a card and hopes to cheer him up a little bit about what happened since he was there.
Support for Canine Officer Brev, too, from these Girl Scouts.
We're supposed to be here for everybody. We're supposed to be there. And if this is the most we can do, then we're going to do it.
All for an officer these girls look up to, someone who was their age once, with hopes and dreams. Now their hopes are for her.
I just hope she's okay. She makes it through. I think she will. Hope she will.
As one man told us tonight, when push comes to shove, we pick each other up, and this is certainly one of those times. It certainly is, and no doubt we'll see demonstrations of that tomorrow. There is a vigil planned outside the city building here at 7 in honor of Officer Burton. Dozens of candles illuminate this picture of Richmond police officer Seara Burton and her canine partner Brev outside Richmond's municipal building. Officer Burton has served this community for 4 years, and tonight it was the community's turn to be there for her.
I lift my voice.
They gathered
to worship you.
To pray for a miracle.
And we pray for her sweet, precious family.
Hundreds of Richmond residents came together Friday to let Officer Seara Burton and her family and fellow officers know.
And we pray this in great hope.
They're here for them.
One of my warriors is hurt and needs your prayers. I've been asking for that, and you have responded, and they are felt.
Richmond Police Chief Mike Britt pointed out the picture of Officer Burton with her canine partner Brev.
The first time I met her, she had that smile. I don't believe she's ever lost that smile.
Britt said his department is hurting. The response from those in the crowd,
God, be with these officers, be with these first responders, be with them,
was to lift their hands in prayer for all the police and first responders.
If you know Seara, if you're lucky enough to know her, she's an absolute warrior.
Richmond's Mayor Dave Snow remembered swearing in Officer Burton just 4 years ago.
I met this fiery, young, brand new cadet that just couldn't wait to get out there and do that job, and I saw her family beaming with absolute pride to see her fulfill her dream to heed that call to service.
And that's what Officer Burton was doing Wednesday when she was shot.
We're shook, we're angry, we're outraged. Our daughter's an officer on second shift with Seara. And yeah, it hit home. The reality of it hit home, and it's been a hard week for her and for us. So it's been tough.
Despite the pain, many of Richmond's residents say they're not going anywhere.
He's got Officer Seara in his hands.
They'll keep fighting for an officer as she fights for her life.
In his hands.
And they'll continue to ask for a miracle.
He's got the whole world in his hands.
Richmond's Mayor Dave Snow told the crowd tonight that he had been at the hospital with Officer Burton's mother and stepmother, who he said are praying at her bedside. This news is hitting the Richmond Police Department and this community very hard tonight. We arrived here about 30 minutes ago, and you could see city employees coming out, and there was just a heaviness to them. Kind of their heads were hung low, and they weren't speaking. And one of the people coming out was, in fact, Richmond Police Chief Michael Britt. And understandably, he didn't want to go on camera, but he was gracious enough to stop and talk to us. And he said that this is just a devastated department right now. He said that they released this news about Officer Burton being taken off life support. They released it internally earlier today, and then about 30 minutes ago they released it to the media and the public. Now, according to that news release, doctors have determined that Officer Burton's injuries are unrecoverable, and this release came out at the wishes of the family, the chief saying that it was the family that chose the wording from that news release. And according to them, according to the family, Seara will live on and continue to be a hero through organ donation. Now, understandably, the family is asking for privacy at this time. The chief calling this an absolute tragedy, saying this feels like he is losing one of his children. The family thanking this community, everyone here that has prayed for Officer Burton, and the wonderful outpouring of support, saying that arrangements will be announced in the coming days. Ladies.
She was remembered as a warrior and hero who gave her life in service to her community. But for the woman who was days away from marrying fallen Richmond police officer Seara Burton before she was shot during a traffic stop, the 28-year-old was remembered as the woman who left her fiancé love notes around the house and made her coffee every morning.
Behind that badge was the woman of my dreams. A woman who could be treated and talked to in awful ways for 8 hours a day at work and could still come home and laugh and be so kind-hearted.
At a funeral attended by hundreds at Richmond High School, Burton's fiancé, also named Seara, paid tribute to the woman she planned to spend the rest of her life with.
A woman who was going to be the best mom to our future children that we already had names picked out for. A woman who never went a day without telling me just how beautiful I am and how in love she was with me.
Burton's stepmother, Amy, who is also a Richmond police officer, talked about working alongside a woman who she said had drive and determination.
I hope she knew just how proud I was of her and how much I loved her. Seara was the strongest woman I've ever known. And she recently just showed the world just how strong she was.
Following Monday's memorial, the funeral coach carrying Burton's casket made its way under a garrison flag before stopping in front of the Richmond Police Department, where Burton's 1042 went out.
Canine Officer Burton demonstrated commitment, professionalism, and dedication. Every moment of every day, and proudly wore the badge as a warrior for her community. She has gone home now for the final time. Canine Officer Seara Burton, Canine 2 of the Richmond Police Department, is 1042.
Burton's funeral procession made its way to Crown Hill Cemetery with her canine partner Brev walking in front of the coach, carrying Burton's flag-draped casket. Elwood's police chief carried the thin blue line flag, marking his department as the last before Richmond to lose an officer in the line of duty when Elwood police officer Noah Chenevez was shot and killed in July. A rifle salute pierced the quiet afternoon as Burton's family looked on, her mother receiving the folded American flag that covered Burton's casket. Officers from across the country, including Brev, filed past Burton's casket, leaving a carnation on top of it. The last one laid came from her stepmom and fellow officer Amy, who said she loved Burton like a daughter, a woman who she said she was proud to walk beside, a woman and fellow officer who she saluted Monday for the final time.